Today's video is all about how to make the most of the time you have at home. People are freaking out at the moment. We're stuck at home 24/7 pretty much because of everything that's been playing out, and it's going to be happening for certainly a few more weeks, maybe even longer. So this video is all about keeping calm, keeping cool, making sure we're staying productive. We're using our time efficiently and effectively, not just for kind of work and business, but also for enjoyment, for fulfillment. So if this is an area you've been struggling with, you want some further thoughts around it, stay tuned because I've got a lot of great stuff for you. All right, let's jump in. Hi, my name is James Corsia and welcome to the Money Paradox podcast. Yes, that's right. We're going through this really crucial topic around what do we do at home? How do we stay sane, stay happy, but also stay productive, right? We're making the most of our time and we adapt accordingly. But before we go into that, I want to start off with this beautiful quote from Lord of the Rings. Now, I don't know how many people out there listening and watching me are big fans of Lord of the Rings, but I'm a huge fan of this quote. So Frodo goes to Gandalf, "I wish none of this had happened." Gandalf responds, "So do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us." Brilliant quote. I actually found this quote, or reminded myself of this quote, taking a walk by the canal. Someone had beautifully written it outside their home, and I just thought it was so relevant for what's going on. There is a lot out there in our environment we cannot control. We might be able to influence elements of it, but things like COVID, coronavirus, the fact that it's here, a lot of the big impacts around that, we have very little, if any, ability to control what's going on there. So it's important to be clear about what we can't control and focus on the things that we can. Us, ourselves, what we do, how we think, how we show up in this world, how we are with those that are around us. And that is what we're going through today. We're focusing on the things that we can control, because by doing that, we are surrounding ourselves and thinking about the things that we have the ability to change and be able to then change it to the positive. And that will certainly get you into a much better place in your mind than focusing on the things that you can't. All right, so I'm going to go through 7 key areas, right, on this topic of how to make the most of your time. The first is take time to reflect. It's very easy when everything's kind of rushing around, people are freaking out, right? When something happens that's really big, people then get into an urgent response. They're like, I need to sort it. I need to react to what's going on and deal with it. And yes, that's important. But I think the danger with that is that we can react too soon, too quickly. And when we do that, we don't necessarily think too well, and we don't do a considered response. And if we don't do that, we run into danger of making the wrong decision. And some of those decisions are very difficult to unwind from. So take time to reflect, observe what's going on, read up, understand what's happening and how that may impact you in all the various parts of your life. Reflect on that, do some deep thinking, and then from that place, think, what can I be doing differently? How do I react to this? How do I survive in times like this? How do I thrive? What opportunities are out there? You know, I'm a big fan of what I call thinking time, carving out a good meat of time, half an hour, an hour, with some really good questions at the top of a page, and just sit with it. No phones, no distractions, and just think, how do I answer that question? And the best answers I get from those types of questions are right at the end, because I then exhaust all the things that are obvious in my mind and I start to be more creative in the answers and solutions I'm giving myself. So the kind of questions I'd encourage you to ask yourself at the moment are, what do I want? Where am I going? Do I need to course correct? Is what's happening mean that I want to adapt and change my direction slightly? What's my vision? What opportunities are out there? What's important to me? What are the things that I want to be surrounded by right now? Those kind of questions, quality questions. And these types of questions aren't easy to answer. They take time. You may come up with different answers if you ask them many times. That's not a wrong thing. It provides the view that these are nuanced and they're deep questions. So I'd massively encourage you to spend some time, reflect, and really come up with some great answers. If we get into that buzz of going from one thing to the next, yes, we might get a lot done, but are those things that you're doing moving you the furthest towards what you ultimately want? You might take 100 steps that will take you less close to what you ultimately want than one step just in a better direction. Secondly, take this opportunity to create a fresh start. I think often we get stuck in the routine of life, just doing the same thing over and over and over again, caught up in the whirlwind of the day-to-day. And COVID, whilst being really frustrating in many ways, has allowed us to hit the reset button, to stop and think, well, all of those things I was doing before, do I still want to be doing them going forward? Do they still make sense going forward? What other things could I be doing instead that make more sense to me? They're going to bring more enjoyment, more fulfillment to my life, going to take me further towards what I actually want. Bringing it more into the financial perspective, two main areas you could be looking at. One, your spending. At the moment, people are spending, should be spending a lot less because you're going out a lot less. A lot of the things you were spending money on, you probably aren't spending money on right now. So you can use this as an opportunity to reset your spending plan, spending less so that you'll build up more space in which to save, be able to spend money in areas that are going to develop you further going forward, right? So if you can do that to kind of almost create a new review around that, maybe your income is less or has changed as a result of COVID. You can then kind of do a fresh start around your spending plan to make sure it makes sense for what's currently going on. Investing, right? By spending less, hopefully at the moment, you're creating more space between what you're earning and what you're spending, maybe having a bit more money to save. And then that can give you an amount of money to start investing if you haven't been before, or maybe increase it slightly to turbocharge your investment plans. A great way to start investing with what's going on is something called dollar cost averaging, or in the UK, pound cost averaging, where whatever your investment approach is, or you decide it to be, you can put a bit of money in each week or each month so that, for example, you put money into the stock market, right? Everybody's conjecturing whether it's going to keep going down, stay the same, go back up. But if we put money in each month, then it doesn't really matter because you're putting money in at different times when it's at different values. So that even if you get it wrong, right, and you put some money in today, and then in a month's time it goes down, it's okay, because then you're putting money in a month's time when it's down. You're getting it for an even sheet price. Maybe the second month it goes down further. It's all good, because then you're putting money at that point as well, right? And then if it starts to go back up, you've been putting money in at those even lower points, right? So the great thing is it smooths the curve. It kind of reduces the impact or the risk around going into the market at one particular time. So that's a really great way of starting in a very safe way, right? That doesn't feel scary. Lastly is look for fun ways to create a fresh start, right? Like for me, I'm just being a bit crazy. I'm kind of growing a beard out. I probably look like a bit of a hobo right now on the video camera, but I'm purposely doing this to kind of look differently, to feel like, okay, now we're in a different environment, and when I look in the mirror, I see myself as a bit different, And it causes me to think differently, come up with new ideas, be more creative in how I spend my time, right? I like the idea of that, and little ways like that can be fun, a fun way to create that kind of change for you. All right, thirdly, develop a routine. Yes, you want that fresh start and something new, right? But you also want that routine. For a lot of people, you've been stuck at home, having to work from home, or maybe you've been temporarily laid off and you can't work, right? Whatever your situation is, for most people, you're going to be stuck at home or be changed in what your requirements are. People or humans love routine. They love habit. We love certainty. It's a really important need for us. And when you change that, it messes with us. And often people get really unproductive because it's hard to then hold on to all the things that you'd put into your life previously. So as a massive priority, you want to get that routine back in, and there's certain things as a minimum you want in there, right? You want sleep, okay? People are going to be sleeping all the time, might be encouraged to sleep later, wake up later, sleep less, sleep too much. Get some kind of structure around that, consistency kind of daily. This was an area that I was really struggling with for a long time. And by focusing on it, and I got the awesome Aura ring, which I massively recommend. Don't worry, I'm not. So I've got this Aura app, massive fan. So guys, if you're into kind of measuring yourself and getting that feedback and being able to do better as a result, definitely recommend it. It's arguably the best sleeping tracker out there. It's completely transformed my sleeping patterns. But either way, work on your sleep, right? Get that consistency and routine. Secondly, exercise. When you're not walking to the tube station or to wherever you need to get to work, right? Or you used to go to the gym and stuff, it's really easy to just let go of exercise. Make use of that one form of exercise a day. Get outside for your own sanity. Get the body moving. The body is made to move. If you don't move it, it shuts down. Things stop working in a whole load of different ways. I had crazy cabin fever at the beginning of this process. But as soon as I started getting daily exercise back in, got outside for a run each day, my world was totally different. My physical well-being totally different. My mental well-being totally different as well. So big recommendation there. Thirdly, mindfulness. Get some kind of practice in there. Meditation. Even just 5-10 minutes to stop, think, and sit with whatever's going for you and kind of turn that mind off. Next, quality reading. I'm a huge fan of this. And when I go running, I do this as well. So for me, that's perfect because I'm getting a kind of a 2-in-1. I would highly recommend avoiding the news. It's negative, it's sensational, it overplays minutiae, it changes on a daily basis. It's pointless. Anything that's really important, you'll find out about either from people around you or from reading quality information, right? If it's still relevant a few days from now, a week from now, then it's important enough to kind of know about. Very few things you need to know within the hour of the day. So find some people you trust, you respect, and follow them and learn from those people, okay? Because then you're getting a condensed version, a thoughtful view of what's going on, right? Rather than just a string of facts that are changing on a regular basis. Get some set working hours. This is probably one I struggle with. I love to work. I'm passionate about kind of making the most of my time and driving myself forward as much as possible. But really try to get that balance with, knowing when you're starting, when you're kind of cutting it to an end at the end of the day, right? Finding time to get those other areas that are important for you, because otherwise, one area can kind of take over and then you're getting a kind of imbalanced view of your world, right? And that is not sustainable. So if you keep doing that, something will budge, something will affect you, and you'll ultimately not be as productive if you get that balance in. And then lastly, bringing it into the finances, right? Spending plans, saving, investing. This stuff works most effectively if you're getting a regular run-in with it. So monthly, if you're reviewing your spending plan, you've got a number you're sticking to, you've done that fresh start, you've set those numbers, Are you checking in every month? Are you on track with that? Are you course correcting if you've gone over or under? Are you saving every month, then taking that money and investing? If you were before, great. What can you do differently to make it even better? If you weren't before, how do you make sure you take a fresh start that process and build that into your routine, because you're then getting consistent with it. It's the consistency that is 10 times more important than coming up with it in the first place. Successful people in life generally and in finances are those that consistently stick to their habits, because you could save £10,000 in a month. That's amazing. But if you do that once, you've got £10,000. But if you save £1,000 or £500 a month for 10 years, 50 years, you're in a whole lot better position, right? It's the consistency that wins the race, not the sprint. Next, fourth, be creative, okay? Things are all up in the air. There's a lot of uncertainty. Things have changed. You know, for a lot of people in this life, we've not seen something like this before. So in this environment, there are a lot of opportunities that haven't even been thought of yet, because it's an environment that we haven't seen for a very long time. So there are a lot of opportunities there, but you've got to find them. And the way you find them is by being creative, thinking through what is important right now. What are people needing right now? What do you need right now? The more you ask those types of questions, the more value you can add to those around you and the kind of world more generally. By doing that, that's how you can have a better life. You know, I think the success you have is directly proportionate to the amount of value you add to this world. The more value you add, the more successful you're going to be. And I don't mean just financially, I mean just generally. If you add value to people's lives, they will be compelled to be providing value back to you. And that can be money, but it also can be in emotional support, in just helping you and being there for you and acknowledging you. So big advocate of getting creative and coming up with new ways in which you can be adding value to this world. And it can be small, right? So for us, you know, we're thinking about in this house, what can we do differently? How can we make the most of our space? We've got this crazy gym in the garden because all the gyms are closed down, and we want to be pushing our body and still getting stronger through what's going on. You know, it's never been more important to have a strong, healthy body. I've been getting really into cooking. You know, this is something I definitely didn't do too much before. Been getting into cooking from scratch, cooking things I wouldn't normally cook. I'm loving it. So I'm finding something that I can enjoy, but also learning a new area and getting better as well. New investment opportunities. There are certain types of properties, certain types of investments I'm now looking into in a really big way because of what's going on. For example, if you need to be selling a home right now, well, no one's buying because no one knows what's going on. They don't know how much the property market's going to drop. You can't even get lending at the moment, or it's very difficult to get lending because surveyors can't value properties. So if you're somebody that can come in and help support, take a property off somebody and provide them with money when they really need it, those are the types of people that get really good deals and get the kind of discounts you wouldn't normally get. Okay, so that is a good example, but there are countless examples out there in other areas. 5, accountability. When you set a new routine, when you create a fresh start, it's very hard to cement that in and be consistent with it, because, you know, as humans, one, we're lazy. Okay, we just want to be comfortable. We want the easy route. It's like in our DNA. So to do something new and different is kind of hard, right? You know, we're constantly having to think about it. The other thing is, we've got the kind of whirlwind of what's going on and what we're worried about, and our mind will get fixated on that and avoid the things that are difficult and new. So if you get people around you that can help hold you accountable to what it is that you've set as a new routine, as a new fresh start, you are 100 times more likely to do it because you've publicized it, because that person will externally remind you when the mind tries to forget. And you can do that through many different ways. You can get an accountability buddy. right, who checks in on you regularly, and you can do the same for them. You can get a coach, formally or informally, right, where their focus is on you and what's going on for you, and providing that sounding board to come up with those new ideas and make sure you take a better direction going forward. And then lastly, a mentor. Right? Who are those people around you that are role models that you trust, that you respect, that you could draw on a regular basis, that you can go speak to and say, what do you think of my situation? What should I do? Am I doing the right things? Can you check in on me and just make sure I'm doing what I should be? Sixth, friends. It's easy to get into a point of self-isolation and feel isolated, lonely. Human beings are social animals, and without that, it's super tough, right? And at the times when I've not been around people for an extended period of time, I go a bit mad, I go a bit weird. And then when I go speak to people again, I just find myself kind of saying things I wouldn't normally say, and I'm like, who is this dude, And that is because we very quickly kind of get out of the habit of being sociable. It's a skill, it's nuanced, right? And so if you shut yourself away, I genuinely think you will go a bit crazy. You will forget that really important skill. So in creative ways, learn how to stay connected with friends, people around you, because you'll keep that saw sharpened, but also that will be an amazing source for fun, for enjoyment, and also for coming up with great ideas. I'm a big fan of using people as a sounding board, right? How can you collaborate with those around you for new business ideas, for new ways to have a better life given what's going on, right? Come up with good questions that you can both together ask or answer. Like I was talking about before, that thinking time. Do that together in groups. It's so powerful. Someone who comes up with an idea, you go, that's a great idea. What about this? Or no, that's rubbish. And this is why. Through that discussion, you come to some really powerful insights. And lastly, my seventh point is have fun. It's too easy with what's going on to freak out, get scared, worry, and focus on how to deal with the things that we're worried about and the things that have become negative as a result of the COVID impact. Or to just get stuck into work and, the kind of routine around that. Look for new ways to have fun, because all of those ways that you did before COVID that you use for fun, going out, seeing people, going to bars, going to restaurants, the cinema, whatever it was, going on holiday, right? All of those things you can't do. So the mind goes, oh, what can I do to have fun? Oh, I can't do that, so I can't have fun. And it's then very easy just to slip into the really basic things you can do at home, which is like maybe comfort eat or watch crap on TV or play a game or something. Yes, that's a form of fun, but I don't think it's a quality form of fun. So what I'd encourage you to do is be creative, come up with new ways to have fun. Get outside for exercise. You can go out there once a day. So what's the most creative way to have the most fun by doing that? Call friends, but do it in different ways. There's this new house party app that's everybody talking about. It's awesome. I've been using it a few times. And, the kinds of conversations and the kinds of dynamics that play out in that, I've never really seen before, because it's a new way of connecting with people. So it makes it fun in a different way, and it kind of stimulates the mind in a different way. Online games, right? Can you play other people that you know through online? Those kind of things. Come up with new ways. Speak to others. What other ways are people doing that they're doing to have fun and staying connected and enjoying themselves through these times? Last point I'll make on all of this before we go is pursue fulfillment over pleasure. So have fun, but don't get caught in pleasure, right? So pleasure is more addictive. It's that instant high, right? Like eating junk food, like playing a really addictive game, like watching kind of Netflix series back to back, because it feeds that pleasure response in the mind. Yes, it can be enjoyable in the moment, but when you finish, it kind of leaves you with that kind of empty feeling, like I've just kind of wasted my time there, I've wasted my life there, right? Fulfillment is something that might not give you as much enjoyment in the moment, but gives you that longer term afterglow. That's the way I kind of look at it. So fulfillment is more connecting on a deeper level with your friends. It's learning something new. I know there's this whole thing bandied about, like the kind of the two things you want to be doing while you're stuck at home is learn something new, learn a new hobby, or create some new side hustle. I'm a massive fan of those two things, right? You know, I'm a huge advocate of personal development, and I think if you do either of those things, you're going to be a better person as a result. But I want to kind of let go a bit of that, because I know there's been a strong backlash to that. Like just because I've got all this time off and I'm stuck at home for 3 months doesn't mean I have to then spend it all creating some new hobby for the sake of it. Can't I just enjoy the time? Yeah, you can. And if that's your MO, that's the way you want to kind of run through life. Everybody's got a different path. That's cool. But just make sure that path is a path of fulfillment rather than that instant pleasure, right? So read those books that make you think, that give you a different perspective, even if it is fiction, right? Play those games that take you on a journey. Have conversations that leave you thinking, leaving you with a fresher perspective, right? Do those kind of things over the more simplistic pleasure highs. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed doing it. Have an awesome week. I'll definitely see you next week for some great more content. But before I go, guys, if you've enjoyed it, please do like it, subscribe if you want to see my future videos, and share with those that you know that you think would enjoy this content. Guys, that's all from me. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.